even when a lot of those movements got disbanded, we still had strong women because they saw women moving with the struggle. So, they brought that home and you instilled that in your kids. So I think I got that from my mom, just being a leader, like, and I was I was older than a lot of my friends. A lot of my friends were a year or two younger than me. And it seems as though they looked up to me at that time, even though I might not have known it, but I was the house that come knock on the door, you coming out, like they would come get me. So it's like things didn't start unless I came outside and got everybody together and we picked teams, whatever we was gonna do.
Let me piggyback on that there and say that you got your nurturing from your mother.
Right.
You became the shepherd. You knew you was the shepherd that would protect those that maybe could not protect themselves or had not grown to that point to understand the importance of their own strengths.
Right.
Okay. Now, let's go after that. We're matriculating up pretty good. Now, let's go into with the collaboration of all of your friends, how you all migrated to go and play in basketball. Here to wherever you went, it was a group of you all. How did that come about?
Well, again, St. Rocco's. I mean, Paul McPleasant, and the things I do now comes from what Paul used to do for me. Picking me up, taking me different places, going to the Pony Classic up in East Orange when they used to have the Christmas tournament with Milt Wagner and Billy Thompson and them. That was my era. I was just learning players outside of Newark, and a few of my friends went to St. Rocco's after me, and they were on the team, and we would go to Westside Park because that's the league that they had going on at that time. We would walk up from the projects.
Mo Layton's league at that time.
Oh, that was Mo. I didn't know whose league it was.
Then
I know.
He went over to St. Peter's, took it over the Lions Avenue after that.
Okay, so yeah, we used to be in Westside Park before they designed the courts where they are now. They used to be on 13th Street side, and we would go up there and we met different people. Like just basketball is a community. I always tell my kids now, you're gonna meet people that are probably gonna be your competitor for as long as you play this sport because you're around the same age, and they're gonna probably be your friends because once this is over, you done met a whole bunch of different people who you can call your friend, if you had that relationship with people on other teams. But we're all from Newark, so eventually at that time I was 7th, 8th grade, so eventually we might be on the same teams in high school, we might play the same AAU team.
All-star, whatever.
Yeah, all-star, whatever. So, it's a competitive nature. I don't dislike him. I dislike him now because we playing against each other.
Competition begins,
right,
friendship ends.
I always compare now to then. It's not like that now. Everybody's helping each other up. This is my friend. No, he's on the other team. These are your friends. At the end of the game, he can be your friend. Right now, he's not your friend. So I have respect for a lot of coaches. No, I'm just saying I have a respect for a lot of coaches, but when I'm coaching against
McCray, wait a minute. I'm laughing because in this day and time, I'm laughing because I'm before you and I understand that this was football or whatever. And I'm laughing because you did not help up
no,
your competition.
Opponent. No, you didn't do anything to try to hurt him, but it's like,
let his teammates pick him up.
Let his teammates pick him up. We're not picking him up. At the end of the game, we can go do whatever together. But right now, nah. And that's how I played. That's how I coach, because that's how I was taught.
Yeah.
They're your friends. No, don't be disrespectful. But it's competition.
We play.
We're trying to beat you. I went places like you said. I traveled with my friends. We would go to different
courts,
playgrounds and play against people. If you lose, you might not get back on for 3 games.
That's true.
Nobody wants to lose because you might as well leave, especially if it's a bunch of competitive guys there. So
I'm laughing because in today's competitiveness, the individuals that have that grit, they're put on an echelon as if they're so magnificent, whereas each and every individual that competes out there is equal. Sure, you might have someone
Right.
have a more God-given talent,
Right.
but that just brought humor to me because no blood, no foul. Wasn't
That's
that
it.
Leo Bunyan?
No blood, no
wasn't
foul.
wasn't that Leo
Yeah.
Bunyan? No blood, no foul. You don't look at them. You don't show no weakness.
No weakness. I played in the full house. You run into that radiator, you better get right back up. That radiator ain't go. You supposed to know that radiator's right there. You know what I'm saying? You got
with the dim light.
with the dim light. Yeah. I mean, this is how we played, and it worked, and it was competitive.
Oh man, I'm laughing because the camaraderie that you're spreading to the TV audience is that where there is competition, there is still love.
There's still love, definitely.
But we're competing. No one wants to be second place.
Right. Right.
If
Nobody
you-
remembers
There's
second
a trophy
place.
for second place called next year. Yeah. So now, outside of that, there when you start to organizing and matriculating and graduating, and your talents now they're coming into the fold. My question is, how did you get to the zoo crew?
Well, I mean, the Zoo Crew was, again, a bunch of my friends. Like when they moved us from, when they closed Hayes Homes and they moved us to another public housing on Chadwick, a lot of my friends' families moved over there as well. So, we were the outcasts over there. At that time, this was 1987. Like I said, I was at Caldwell University. And, at that time, the drugs was heavy.
Tell it.
It was heavy in the community.
Tell it.
The crack came in, and
America, not just New.
No, it came in America.
America.
Yeah, it came in America, and it was supposedly started in the form of crack was started in L.A. I was just watching a documentary about that. But the drugs was heavy. Some of my friends were indulging in drugs. Selling drugs, not using, which I'm glad they weren't. But and I was playing at Caldwell, and a lot of my friends would come to the games, and they was looking good, man. Back then with the LL and Run DMC gold chains and the 4-finger rings and the long leather trenches. Back in the days.
No, you have to explain for those that weren't here. I do know.
Right, but I mean, when the hip hop, if you look at Run DMC,
The beginning of hip hop.
Beginning of hip hop. If you see old pictures of LL Cool J, Run DMC, and like Curtis Blow, and the way they dressed, that's how the community was dressing at that time, with the leather pants and the Kango hats and the Kazals.
The 8-ball jackets.
8-ball jackets and all that stuff, the sheepskins. So, my friends used to come to the games, and it's like 20, 30 of them, and they're all like
dressed like
that. And here I am in college, college, just struggling. My mom was on welfare. I didn't have any money, so they would give me money. Like at the end of the game, they would give me money, and I see them pulling out these big wads, and I'm like, what am I missing? And, they were out in the community, selling drugs. So, me, myself, nobody said, come out here with us, you could get this money. I wanted my own money. So I kind of indulged in it as well. While I was in college, I was playing both sides, and I would go home, make a couple of dollars, go back to school. Some people didn't even know I was in college, so eventually, they started taking the proceeds, and at that time, there was nothing for youth to do. These guys were 22, 23, some of them 18, 19. I'm about 20, 21 at the time. And they started throwing parties. They started renting out Skate 22 up in Union when that was open. Zanzibar, they was throwing parties down there, the Eleganza.
And they had to pay for these parties to be facilitated.
Right, they had to pay for it. They were bringing people in to perform, and people felt like, well, we got to come up with a name.
Okay.
So people know who's doing it. At the time, it was the guys from Chadwick Avenue. So one of my friends was like, the police see young black men as animals. Let's call ourselves the Zoo Crew. And I was like, Zoo Crew. And then everybody started saying Zoo Crew, and it kind of stuck. And they started getting T-shirts printed. Now, this was transforming to positive. They were doing negative, but again, we grew up in a community, in the projects, where people took care of the community. The older guys that was doing whatever they was doing, which you never saw them doing it because they went in the building, and the kids never saw who was doing the negativity. But they would give back to the community. When I was younger, they would sponsor bus rides to Hershey Park, Action Park, Great Adventure, and we didn't have to pay, and we just went. And
my question with that there, because I want to make sure that we facilitate this out to the audience properly, is that in the urban communities, you don't really see your elected officials like that anymore. You would see, and I'm not advocating in any way, under world enterprising,
right.
but we're speaking the truth, and the truth is this goes for all white, black, pink, or brown, whoever's running the neighborhoods.
Right.
These are the individuals that you see out front, but also behind the back door, some individuals that are of prominent positions are getting something too, but that's never seen.
Right.
Because those masses that are in that confined geographical area of sardines in that area are just appreciative of being able to go elsewhere and see how other things operate. So in that aspect, I wanted to put that out there to let it be known that every underworld establishment or organization always found a way to go about trying to assist their neighborhood, good money or bad money.
Right.
But it was appreciated, as you stated earlier, by those that lived in that community, that was reciprocal of the gratuities that they were given, if it was food, clothing, whatever, someone's rent being paid or whatever the case was. Now, understanding that, when did you change? What made you change from the student athlete to the street guy? Because this is what you grew up in urban America. There's a perpendicularity. What made it change for you?
I mean, I was always...
You're in college,
right.
all-time rebounder and all this here at a private school. This is not a public college. This is a private college.
Well,
I put out there that you're a Blue Devil, half Gray Bee, St. Benedict's alumnus. So
right.
you had the concept to understand what you were doing. Now, the point that I want to parlay to our audiences and to the young people that are going through the same thing now, maybe even worse now because it's not the same time, but it's the same lesson. What? Was it your conscience? Was it your mother? Was it the shame? What was it that made you, as I stated before, indestructible? 32, 33 people following you. You're well respected in the community. You're well respected in college. What divine omen came, or something to touch you and shake you and wake you up to put you on this path to where you're an entrepreneur, you're a coach, you're a mentor, you're a man of God, and most definitely a proud product of Newark, New Jersey? What happened? You got to give it to them straight.
No, I mean, I always was, I don't know if you know, but I wrote a book, man. 1 Foot In, 1 Foot Out. That was the name of my book.
Okay.
I published it in 2015, and I was always on the fence. I was always, and that's where the title came from, 1 Foot In, 1 Foot Out. I graduated college with a sociology degree in 1990, a minor in criminal justice. I took criminal justice classes because I was in the streets. I needed to know
the rules of the game.
the law. Like, if something happens, this is what, so I kind of took that for, just to understand the judicial process of being in the streets. So during that time, and I always tell kids this, like, I could be 8 years further than where I am now because I was in the streets from 90 to 98 with a college degree. You know what I'm saying? And I was able to maneuver because